Okay guys, welcome back. So now it's time to talk about data in transit encryption. And prior to the break, I've mentioned that again, this is a brand new feature that was introduced in vSAN 7.0 Update 1. Now, when you take a look at the very top of the page, we mentioned that we're talking about encrypting your vSAN traffic as it flows through the vSAN network. So here in class, we're using VMNIC 3 for vSAN. So we're talking about encrypting the data as it flows through VMNIC 3 in this case. And if you wonder why, once again, this will be there to protect yourself against a man-in-the-middle type of attack. Now, if you take a look, we've already mentioned that you can enable both data at rest encryption and data in transit encryption. I'm just going to enable one of them, because data at rest encryption is what you get to do in the first lab. I'm not going to do that. I've already talked about the steps. Instead, what I want to do here is I want to show you this new feature. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to select the cluster. I don't need a KMS server. I'm going to show you that. I don't need to enable data at rest encryption. All I have to do is choose data in transit encryption. And then in this case, I get to choose whether or not I want to go with the default rekey interval, which is 1 day, or I could change it. If I click on the expander there, be aware that you will have different options. I'll show you those options in my demo. So, how does it work? In this page, we explain to you how this actually takes place. Let's take a look. In this page, it says vSAN enforces encryption on vSAN traffic exchange between your vSAN nodes if and when you enable data in transit encryption. Notice, they tell you here that virtual SAN creates a TLS link between the different ESX servers in your cluster. And this again is intended to exchange the traffic. Now, when you take a look, the nodes involved will create a share secret and they will attach it to the current session. And when you look at step number 3 here, it says vSAN uses a share secret to establish an authenticated encryption session between, again, the different vSAN nodes in your cluster. When you take a look at this page, we see that we have different choices when it comes to the rekey interval. 1 day is the default, but you don't have to do that. Notice the different choices. You have 6 hours, 12 hours, 1 day, and so on. In my demo, I'm going to click on the expander, but I'm not really going to change anything there. And if you need to troubleshoot encryption, remember, your best friend is always going to be Skyline Health. Now, if you select your cluster and you go to Skyline Health, in 7.0 Update 1, you have a whole section for data in transit encryption. And if you take a look, if you have a problem, notice you have a choice that in this case is grayed out. And that is a choice called remediate inconsistent configurations. Having said that, what happens if I decide to grow my cluster? When you take a look at the very top, here it says when you add a host to the data in transit encrypted vSAN cluster, the new host configuration is going to be automatically remediated. So you don't have to turn anything off and on. You don't have to make any manual changes and so on. And if you look at the second statement, remember this is new in 7.0 Update 1. So you cannot add an ESX server running an older version. Otherwise, guess what? You're going to have a network partition. And if you take a look, I've mentioned we have 2 labs. So before you do labs 11 and 12, I'm going to do a quick demo. So hopefully you enjoyed the demo. And remember, I am not going to configure data at rest encryption because, again, that will take a long while. You get to do that in the lab. Thank you guys, and I'll see you during the demo.